Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And the hashtag is trending to Right in Yang. Hashtag Right in Yang. And we're here to analyze whether or not that is a good or a bad strategic idea. Cody, tell us what's happening with Right in Yang.
Yeah, well, of course, with news that Andrew Yang is suspending his campaign from, I believe, Tuesday. I'm trying to count back in my head how many days that actually is, but Tuesday. A lot of people have been talking what is next for Andrew Yang. And one thing that's been going around and being discussed is the idea of people writing in for Andrew Yang. Now, I've kind of said from the beginning, if you were to still go up and vote and you're not, it's like some people, we've looked and like roughly, depending on what you look at, probably 20 to 30% of Yang supporters will go to the other populist candidates, whether it be mostly Bernie with some Trump, and then a large percentage of people kind of felt like I'm one of those people, Yang's my guy, I'm not voting for anyone else.
To 50% of our audience, man.
Yeah, but that's, one
That's
poll.
big.
But still, one thing we've seen up, and I kind of like this idea, is the idea of writing in Yang. So writing Yang is trending on Twitter a little bit, especially with the Yang Gang. But I want to go through and show you a lot of people are talking about this. In our stream we had last night, a lot of people were asking us about, or a lot of people were just actually putting in the chat, hashtag Right in Yang. And we want to take a look at first of all, the first thing I wanted to look at before we get too far into this is how many people actually have to write in Yang for Andrew Yang to basically have the most write-in votes for a presidential candidate of all time.
Yeah.
Now, I want to see, here we go. So the most of all time was actually Ralph Nader in the 1996 election.
Dude, I remember this. Like, I actually remember Ralph Nader running in that election and the hullabaloo about whether it be Green Party or whether it be independent or whatever. And I remember meeting people that were like, no, I'm writing in Ralph Nader. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, you know how many people did? You know how many people did?
How many?
685,000 people. So honestly, I have to admit, I thought that was a high number. I thought maybe low six figures. So it's a pretty high bar. If we want Andrew Yang to say, because I think that would be like I said, for someone like me, I probably might go right in Yang now. I wasn't going to vote for anyone but Andrew Yang originally, and I guess I'll just stick to that. I'm not voting for anyone but Andrew Yang. But the more I think of it, that would be a great way to, and this is just kind of not like, but just to solidify the fact that the Yang 2020 movement was a real thing. If he ends up, not necessarily with, 700,000 write-in votes, that's a big one. But I mean, if he could just get, like I said, low six figures, a story on it as Andrew Yang, the kind of the specter of Yang continues to haunt this primary as we head to it. Because again, this is general election. So for a primary, I'll see if I can pull the Democratic primary number up. For a general election, though, we had 685,000 votes for a candidate. So in a primary, you would probably need, like I said, if Andrew Yang could get close to low six figures in a Democratic primary on a write-in ballot, holy cow.
Well, also put that back up on the screen really fast. They actually tallied one of my votes there, right? The conservative politician Ron Paul, which isn't really fair, better said libertarian. Ron Paul is another popular write-in candidate. According to his own website, he received just over 17,000 write-in votes in California in 2008. I was one of those write-ins with a mail-in ballot, dude. So I was one of the 1,700 wise men and women who decided to go with the Ron Paul revolution in 2008. But still, that's a stark difference. 17,000 is a far cry from 685,000.
Well, that was only in California.
Oh, yeah. Duh. You're right. That makes sense. So, but still, if Ralph Nader's the biggest, Ron Paul, who was a huge write-in candidate that year, I guess must have not gotten over. So nobody's hit 750,000, basically, is what it's saying. Nobody's hit 750,000.
In a general election as well. Keep that in mind.
Okay, in a general election. So, what are your thoughts on write-in? Because this is something I've been struggling with, and we actually talked about this on the live stream yesterday. I've kind of wondered, being here in California, I would never say that our vote doesn't count or our vote doesn't matter, but it's definitely weighted as less because the state's a winner-take-all state electorally. And by the way, anybody that's advocating for getting rid of the Electoral College has no idea how much that would actually hurt Democrats, because if California conservatives actually understood that their vote would matter because there was no more Electoral College, you would accidentally mobilize literally millions of new votes that Democrats haven't had to contend with, because for 40 years, California Republicans have pretty much known every once in a while we can stop a high tax or maybe an individual measure if we organize, but we have no voice in the state Senate, no voice in any of the state offices, and no voice in the assembly because we're literally a super minority. Whereas if all of a sudden those extra 3 or 4 million votes had something to do with themselves, I think it would be a popular vote landslide. So anyway, but here, yeah, I've thought in California, and you can help me work through this maybe, Cody, and I might just be thinking out loud. I apologize if I am, but what do you think is of more worth? Like, writing in Andrew Yang in California just to send a message, an important message on who we think should be considered as an up-and-comer and a good second place, or voting for just who you want to say, hey, look, there are more, like voting Trump to say, hey, look, there's more Republicans here than you realize.
Well, not everyone is you. I would say vote for the person you actually want to be president. And if it's Andrew Yang, like myself, I'm going to vote for Andrew Yang. That's how I want to be president. I get like he's not running for Democratic primary anymore, but like that's what it is. I'm not going to vote for anyone else. Like I don't necessarily feel because here we go. I want to show you guys this. This is the write-in results. Not all, incomplete, but some interesting write-in results we just saw in the recent primary in New Hampshire.
Okay.
So check this out. Michael Bloomberg got almost 5,000 write-in votes in New Hampshire on the Democratic primary. By the way, he got over 5,000 votes when you factor in the fact he had 801 write-in votes in the Republican primary as well. But as this tweet mentions, for perspective, Deval Patrick, who, obviously isn't a front runner by any means, still, Deval Patrick campaigned like crazy in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
He got 1,258 votes. Michael Bloomberg wasn't on the ballot, and he got almost 5,000. So the idea that like people, like I also want to kind of just not dispel, but there's like this idea that like, oh, no one writes, like that like writing in's like this weird thing that like almost no one does. Like, no, like this is in New Hampshire a couple days ago. Check this out. These are the total results for Democrats getting write-in results in the Republican primary. Buttigieg and Klobuchar had 1,000 people show up in the Republican primary and write in their names for whatever reason. I mean, you go through, it's in the thousands. This isn't counting. It is counting Bloomberg's 801 write-in votes. Sanders, 753. That's kind of wow. Imagine. Hey, that's how good Bernie was doing in New Hampshire. I guess people were going to. It's such a funny thing. I can't remember writing in Bernie Sanders Republican ballot. Deval Patrick, shout out. You know what? Deval Patrick probably needed those 10 votes. Going with his 1258 that he got total. He needed them in the Republican Democrat one. But still, I mean, this is a thing people do as recently as earlier this week in New Hampshire, and you can see people pay attention to this stuff. It's obviously not going to like change everything, but people do pay attention to this stuff. Also worth keeping in mind, if you're someone who is a first-time or was going to be a first-time voter for Yang but isn't considering it now, I would just say for people considering that, another reason why it could be interesting to write in Andrew Yang, I'm not advocating for doing it, but if you were going to think about voting for him anyway, it's also a way to kind of get on record as a voter. You'll be getting pollsters will reach out to you more. It's kind of like when you stay at like a hotel and you put your email in and they just they bombard you. Hey, you stay at hotels. Want to stay at our hotel? It's the same thing. It's like they ignore you.
That's
and
a
then
good analogy.
Like, oh, you voted? Hey, this guy votes. We just send him stuff all the time.
I get so many calls from freaking Marriott because I stayed there once. You know what I'm saying? And now every Marriott deal out there, I'm going to put a fake number down next time. But can you go down to that third comment where it shows in order again all of the Republican write-ins? The Democratic candidates that were written in on the Republican primary. I'm actually surprised that I haven't seen a couple of ads from the more progressive Sanders campaign saying this should disqualify Pete Buttigieg, that he is so popular with Republicans and their corporatists and their, you know what I'm saying?
Are you reading the fourth name on the list?
Well, yeah, no, I know, but he could go out there and be like,
What, Pete Buttigieg is 23% more popular with conservatives than me, so he has to be. Dude, Bernie
it's
Sanders
spin, bro. I'm just saying it's spin.
the
You
reason
could
why-
say,
okay,
he's
but-
the number one.
But then
The
you do
Republicans
this.
like
and
him.
then Buttigieg says this. Okay, but then what does it mean that Bernie Sanders got almost as many votes as me? Like,
They've
what does Bernie
spun
say?
bigger
Doesn't
commercials
matter?
out of smaller data.
It's just what a dumb fight to pick when you'll lose immediately. When all Buttigieg does is pull the numbers up and go, well, Bernie got 700 of them. What does that say about him? Yeah, that's worth the time and energy to get owned by Pete Buttigieg, and I don't think he wants to do that.
Look, maybe I would just be a better SJW.
You would get owned by Pete Buttigieg.
Twisting the facts. No.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Not only would you get
There's
owned,
no bad ideas in brainstorming, Cody. There's no bad
yeah,
ideas.
not only would you have been owned, you'd have been owned by Pete Buttigieg. Think about that for a second.
Oh yeah, the ground squirrel, the political ground squirrel.
He would just own you.
That would just be
He would
embarrassing.
just pull the numbers up and said, well, if Mr. Sanders is saying that 1,000 votes from Republicans is bad, what
You know
is
how I would feel?
753 votes from Republicans? What does he say then? Well.
I would feel like that. I'd feel embarrassed, like that character in a haunted house movie that goes in the haunted house, but they get scared by the squirrel. It really didn't end up being a ghost. It was just like, a rat in the room or the squirrel in the room. And you're like, oh, it wasn't the chainsaw wielding massacreist or whatever. I'd feel sheepish if I ever got owned by Buttigieg in that way. I'd be like, I just got owned by Buttigieg. It wasn't a real ghost. It wasn't a real candidate. You know what actually, I shouldn't say real candidate because he is very much a real candidate. But, okay, so, yeah, I mean, part of me is a little bit bummed still that Andrew Yang dropped out, and I'm processing through that.
Well,
But-
suspended his campaign.
Yeah, suspended as
But
a
I mean,
campaign.
unsuspending your campaign without something tragic happening, like a plane crash and like the other candidate that's no longer being with us, it really is kind of hard to unsuspend because people are just going to be like, well, dude, why did you?
Yeah, it's a dropout. Yeah.
Especially when you like say I'm suspending because I no longer see a path to victory. It's like, well, now you do.
Yeah.
Like what changed?
So
but
basically,
can I
he
say one
dropped
more
out.
thing?
Well, no, just let me
Yeah,
finish my
sorry.
thought. That part of the reason why I'm bummed too is because he could have really set some write-in records in Ohio because he accidentally forced himself into a write-in candidacy with that whole paperwork snafu.
Yeah, especially if Dave Chappelle was pounding the pavement for him and all.
So we're talking about the 685,000 votes that he was that Ralph Nader got.
nationally in a general.
Nationally, and apparently Ron Paul's raising eyebrows for getting 17,000 votes in California. Well, Ohio is a bellwether state. Everybody pays attention to how people vote there. And had he launched a very successful write-in campaign there, it might have set enough records to give him more clout somehow, Well,
again, dude, for perspective, if 17,000 is a lot in California, I think that was a primary as well, then yeah, dude, what is 4,777 in New Hampshire?
Dude, that's crazy.
Is New Hampshire's population 1/3 of California? I don't think so. Isn't New Hampshire's like
Why do you
size
think he
like
got so many?
1/40th? I mean, it's a very small state just geographically. Why? Because Michael Bloomberg's legitimately doing well in this race. Poll came out today. He's leading Florida, dude. That's why he's legitimately doing well. He's spending a bunch of money. He's running a bunch of ads. People know who he is. He has name recognition. That's why he's doing well. He's like I can just pull up quantifiers and show you where it's like, I'll see if I can pull the poll up and show you. A poll came out today with Michael Bloomberg in first place in Florida. That's why he had so many write-in votes in New Hampshire. He's at whatever he's doing. It's actually working. Tell you what. Catering events with wine, that'll help people. Let's see if I can pull it up for you guys.
Jeez.
Right here. Here we go, right here.
Yeah, you'd show up to one of those even if you don't like the guy. Free
Yeah.
wine?
It works, surprisingly. Check us out. Florida, St. Petersburg polls, Florida polls. Don't know exactly how reputable this organization is. However, post-New Hampshire primary, Michael Bloomberg, 27%. This one does have
Jeez.
Biden at 26. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying he's going to win Florida. I'm just saying we've gotten to the point now, though, where Bloomberg is actually leading polls that are coming out. Like, he isn't some fringe nobody. By the time Super Tuesday comes and he's legitimately on ballots, you'll see some performances. Like I said, 5,000 write-in votes in New Hampshire is no joke, especially when you didn't really campaign there at all. I don't even know if maybe once or twice, but it's not like he was in New Hampshire. But the last thing I wanted to bring up for this also, another one of the reasons why I think it's I like the idea of having this write-in campaign for Yang after the fact is because this is the most important thing of the Yang campaign. This was an article from October 15th. But this is not to be understated at all. Andrew Yang, and You could say it was like 2 years, but realistically, it was. I mean, he kind of laid the groundwork in 2018, but it was like a mad 9-10 months in 2019 where all this stuff came to a head. He had both of his signature platforms, what automation is doing to the workforce and how UBI can be used to help it, and kind of like it's like a capitalist tool, really, to kind of, you know, I don't know. I keep saying kickstart the middle class, but basically capitalists look at this thing as a plan to implement to help rejigger a capitalist system. It was interesting. It was new. It was different. Definitely not anything else anyone was talking about on the Democratic stage. He brought it onto the stage, talked about it, defended it, 7 times, 8 times? Like, that is crazy, man. I think there was a debate. I was trying to find it. Most positive was where the moderators literally asked a candidate, Andrew Yang is talking about UBI. What do you think about it? I mean,
wasn't that Elizabeth Warren where she had to say?
I think they did ask Warren, but the point being is like that's. Talk about shifting the Overton window. What does it mean when candidates for president are debating it in nationally televised debates, right? Like, is that not as legitimizing of a concept you can get?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's one of the few bully pulpits that still exist. There's the bully pulpit the president has, the bully pulpit that the Pope has, the bully pulpit that pretty much every father has in his family and every mother has amongst her children, and then the debates and professional athletes, and the last bully pulpit that's fading is stars receiving their awards at the Oscars and the Emmys, but now people are stopping paying attention to that. So anyway, here's my last question, Cody. So you think just the Yang gang should ride or die it and write him in and just try and get as much post-election clout as possible?
Well, no, I mean...
not shift to another candidate. They should write in Andrew Yang.
I would just say vote for whoever you want to be president. I'm just saying if that person was Andrew Yang, there could be some legitimacy to writing his name in. It will do something, especially if you're someone who's never voted before in the past and you're like, well, I don't want my first vote to just be for like whoever because... then there is, like I said, there is reasons why the more you vote, the more they start kind of bringing you into the voting club as far as they're going to poll you more, you're going to be reached out to more by local people. It's just the way it goes. So the reason why it's not a crazy idea to write in Andrew Yang. It really is. Also, I don't know, man. I believe Mike Hunt receives tons and tons of write-ins every single year. Harambe gets a bunch. Yeah. Trust me. I think that's the other thing is that it's not like some weird thing no one does. Like it's part of it. It's part of
Mickey Mouse has like been like one of the longest.
Mickey Mouse doesn't get. Nobody's received more. I don't think nobody's been tallied in more presidential elections than Mickey Mouse. I think Mickey Mouse has had someone vote for him every election, like 1937 or something. So there's goofy stuff, but I'm saying it's not all goofy stuff. I mean, people still talk about the fact that like it would definitely get a media cycle. I'm not saying that's how you change the world is writing in Andrew Yang, but I am saying it's not a crazy or dumb idea. It actually is a pretty good idea, especially for some people who want to vote for Andrew Yang. I mean, if you want to vote for anyone else now, if you're one of those people out there who was like, I was leaning Yang, but now I'm ride or die Buttigieg, hey, so be it, man, ride or die Buttigieg. I'm just saying the idea of writing in Yang, I think actually is kind of, it would be a very fitting end to the campaign. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the kind of campaign Andrew Yang ran, I think getting a bunch of write-in votes long after he stopped campaigning, that really would be the most fitting way for it to end.
All right. So I just read this article before I finish here. There was this city in New York during the Nixon and McGovern election. President Nixon got 1,259,873 votes in New York City. McGovern got 1,342,996. According to the Board of Elections yesterday, it goes down valid a little bit. The Socialist Worker candidate got 2,487. The American Party candidate got 362. But a scattering of other votes, including one Mickey Mouse, got 234 votes, which is less than 100 away from what the American Party candidate got. Mickey Mouse is actually within striking distance since the 60s of like legit party candidates. That's kind of actually embarrassing. But
I think Harambe beat people running on parties in 2016.
Harambe did?
Not everywhere. I think there's a couple districts or a couple that happened in a couple areas. Yeah.
Oh, jeez, man. That's brutal.
You have to fact check me, look it up. But I think I do remember a couple people losing. I think the same thing happened, though, I think in the primary, people lost to Stephen Colbert. Like, there's been a couple big write-in things like that, I think.
Okay. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you guys plan on doing with your vote. I know we committed to the poll and everything like that. I had a lot of people, about 50% of the people said that they just, they're just going to chill out of the whole process. The other 50%, about half of them said they were going to vote for Trump. About another 20% said that they were going to vote for Bernie Sanders. And then about 8 to 10% said that they were going to have another candidate that they decided that they would write in. So let us know what you think. Continue the conversation below. Follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1, on Instagram at Problem Solver Politics. If you want to send us an email, send it to us at problemsolverpolitics@gmail.com. And if you can, join the channel. It's a really inexpensive way to help avoid sponsorships on this channel and keep providing you with free, cool content. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.